we are getting reports of explosions in Doha, the capital of Qatar, and beginning to see pictures coming back from that capital city. And we are getting word that this was part of a targeted Israeli attack. Let's get right to CNN's Jeremy Diamond in Jerusalem with the very latest. Jeremy, what have you learned?
John, this is an absolutely extraordinary moment that we are witnessing right now. A very large plume of smoke above the Qatari capital of Doha, and paired with that, an Israeli military statement saying that they have, quote, conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization, end quote. I have just gotten off the phone with an Israeli official who confirmed to me that that statement is indeed about that very same blast in Doha, meaning that the Israeli military, not even Israel's intelligence service, but its military, actually conducted a strike in Qatar targeting Hamas's leadership. And of course, the moment in time at which this is happening, amid this renewed push to negotiate a ceasefire and hostage release deal by the United States, President Trump putting a lot of political capital behind that. And now Israel seems to have targeted the very Hamas leadership that is in the midst of those negotiations. Doha, the Qatari capital, is where several senior Hamas leaders are currently based and have been based throughout much of this war in Gaza, namely Hamas's leader, Khalil al-Hayya. Khalil al-Hayya has been not only Hamas's leader in the wake of the killing of Yahya Sinwar, but he has also been the chief negotiator, engaged not only through the mediators, but also at times with U.S. officials in negotiations over the future of the war in Gaza, the future of the fate of the hostages being held inside the Gaza Strip throughout these nearly 2 years of war. We are also learning via Tal Shalev that the targets do indeed include Khalil al-Hayya, who I was just talking about, and another official by the name of Jabarin. It's unclear as of now what the results of this strike were, whether or not Hamas's leadership in Doha has been killed, who has been killed, whether any of them are injured. We simply do not know at this stage. But the reporting this hour, John, is sure to be an earthquake in this region, not only for the prospects of negotiating a ceasefire agreement to end the war in Gaza, to secure the release of the hostages, but also as it relates to Israel's relations with these Gulf countries. Although Israel does not have official formal diplomatic ties with Qatar, Qatar has been the key mediator in these ceasefire negotiations throughout the war. It has been a key partner in trying to reach some kind of an agreement here, and this will certainly damage those relations as well going forward.
I want to put a little more context around this, Jeremy, because this is an extraordinary event, and I mean that quite literally. I don't believe there is any precedent for an Israeli military attack on Qatar, at least not that I can remember, and I think the Israelis will say it's not on Qatar, but it certainly is in Qatar. It was an air attack which had targets inside the capital city. So that in and of itself, as you say, is something we just haven't seen. And also the targeting of Hamas leadership fits a pattern now that we have seen from Israel over the last, 18 months. The assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah inside Lebanon. Yahya Sinwar, the operational leader of Hamas inside Gaza itself. But now to go after the Hamas officials who openly operate inside Qatar, a very significant development. What might that mean for negotiations?
Listen, it was in the first days of the war that Israel's security establishment and its political leadership made very clear that at the end of the day, whether it would take months, whether it would take years, they would go after every single member of Hamas whom they ultimately deemed responsible for the horrific attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023. And we have watched them tick down that list over the course of nearly 2 years of war, both inside the Gaza Strip, where they killed Yahya Sinwar, who was Hamas's the primary architect of that October 7th massacre, ultimately rose to become Hamas's overall leader, both inside and outside of the Gaza Strip, whether it was Ismail Haniyeh, whom the Israeli Mossad killed in a special operation inside the Iranian capital of Tehran, or when you were talking about Iranian proxies outside of Israel, like, as you said, the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. I mean, Israel has been going down its enemies list over the course of the last 2 years, and this certainly appears to be a continuation of those efforts, and also making clear from the Israeli side that they do not see a distinction between the political leaders of Hamas, the leaders of Hamas's political wing, and the leaders of Hamas's military wing. And this is yet another example of that, in a way that the Israelis are demonstrating that not only is no one outside of their reach, but that they will, go to any lengths, including striking inside of a country like Qatar, which has been a reliable mediator between the Israeli and the Palestinian side. That they will go and conduct these strikes. And again, just to focus on the timing of this, John, it is not the first time that we have seen at a very critical juncture in these ceasefire negotiations that Israel has gone and killed the primary negotiator or decision maker on the other side. Again, we do not yet know whether Israel was successful in this strike in terms of eliminating Hamas's leadership, part of its leadership, the entirety of its leadership. That will remain to be seen. But regardless, this will have enormous implications for the future of the war in Gaza, for the fate of the hostages, and the possibility of bringing all of this to an end.
You know, Jeremy Diamond, stand by for a second, if you will. Check back in with your sources if you need a second on that, because the next big bit of information will be whether or not this was successful or not. In the meantime, I want to bring in Kim Dozier, CNN Global Affairs analyst. You've been listening to these reports, beginning to see some pictures trickling in. We'll get them up for you as soon as we verified the pictures that we're seeing of these explosions inside Qatar. But what do you make of the timing and the messaging here, Kim?
Well, President Trump had just said something about giving the last warning in the next 48 hours. So this could have been coordinated with Washington, but we don't know. But it is shocking that the Israelis would attack inside a Gulf capital where there's no combat activity whatsoever. The last time they did something like this was an assassination that allegedly targeted a Hamas leader in the United Arab Emirates in 2010 in a hotel. And those agents were caught on camera. That's how that attack was revealed. But to do an airstrike in the middle of a very busy capital, Doha is a very modern city. In the time of day, there would have been a lot of traffic around. So I've been trying to reach Qatari contacts to ask if any civilians were killed or injured in this attack. I think that will determine what a lot of the reaction is going to be, just how precise this was. But, you know, these were the people that Qatar was negotiating through. And historically, the Hamas officials in Doha were the ones more likely to say yes to negotiations, to compromises, than the more hardline Hamas leaders inside Gaza.
Yeah, you just ran down a list of questions I have. You know, what does this mean if it's successful for Hamas? What does it mean for Qatar and its role as an intermediary? And what does it mean for the United States as the president in the Trump administration is standing by watching and involving itself where it can in negotiations?
Yeah, if it proves that the U.S. was informed of this ahead of time, it's really going to damage relations with Doha. And Qatar has been a key nation to do outreach, for instance, to Iran, to several different actors that the U.S. normally doesn't talk to directly. But most importantly, with the UN General Assembly coming up, there was a hope that some sort of a last-ditch compromise deal would be reached, that Hamas would agree to this turning over all 48 Israeli hostages, including those deceased, in a 48-hour period in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners, and that might forestall this imminent Israel full-scale invasion of Gaza City, where Israeli officials have said they're going to basically hit every single building because they think Hamas has tunnels underneath and has command centers throughout the city. And that's going to be devastating to those who are refusing to leave. I don't see how Hamas says yes to that after this strike.
I think we did just get some video in. I saw a flash frame go up there of smoke rising over the skyline in Doha. You can see right there a pan. Not sure I see anything in this shot, but there are others that we have in right now. Maybe smoke over that archway right there. We're going to keep scouring, getting more video, getting reports in. Jeremy Diamond is working his sources. Kimberly Dozier, don't go far. Much more on our breaking news just ahead. This is a significant development that may shuffle some of the diplomatic efforts going on to end the Israeli war with Hamas. An extraordinary, unprecedented moment with Israel trying to target Hamas officials inside the Gulf nation of Qatar. Stay with us.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.